Why are you here, Adam, for our live stream about hair?
Yeah. What do we did
That's
have
what the topic is, actually.
we had what was I gonna say? What's his face on? The guy who works Tom Pallant. I forget to say his name. The guy who works for Youngblood. And everybody wanted to know his hair routine. It was like kind of an ongoing joke. So he actually had a part where he answered the hair routines. It was kind of funny.
That's so funny.
Right now.
Yeah, so you guys, if you pull up the stream, you should be able to see yourselves, see what you look like, see everything.
Oh, yes.
Scary.
It's pretty simple. We keep it pretty straightforward.
I'm the first viewer.
Oh, my check.
And then Captain Lasagna, that's Connor. He's our mod. He's probably gonna. So he's in the chat chilling alone right now. But basically, you kind of have to give it like 5 minutes for people to trickle in, and then after this is all over, Connor goes through and cuts it up and finds cool clips, and then we can share those online for people who missed it or all that jazz. Hello, Connor. What up? And I'm just gonna post on that we're going live really fast too on my socials.
Smash that retweet.
All right, I'm gonna make it super basic.
Everyone looks really good in this. You're all happy with that, right? Okay, great.
Yes.
If somebody tweets before me, then I'm just retweeting theirs. We'll see. But yeah, cool.
I got the Instagram story.
Dude, I just went from an iPhone 8 to an 11. I'm freaking out on the whole swiping thing. I lost my home button.
Oh god.
Oh, dude, the home button change is just so jarring.
Wait,
Dude,
what?
Like, just because I switched from an iPhone 8 and I'm on an iPhone.
Oh, you have no button now?
Hey, I'm still on a 7.
Jeez.
I personally hated the home button.
What?
I just like
Home button was so nice.
screen. I need the biggest screen in all situations so I can see it properly because I'm that blind.
Love that.
All right, I'm tweeting it, and I'm just saying live with some legends right now. Come hang, and you guys can retweet it if you want. But I'm just gonna, if they see it on your screen, I'm assuming they're gonna know that you're there too. Cool. And everybody who's here, hello, welcome. All right, we got Erica,
Hello.
Connor. You might as well be on the stream with how much you're talking. I love it. We just gotta get him on here sometime. Just start plugging him into the matrix.
Captain Lasagna. Wow.
Yeah, isn't that a cool name?
An awesome name.
It's spelled like lasagna.
Be a cool superhero name.
Yeah, right. Maybe that's what he's going for. Maybe that's what he's going for.
I'm afraid of Captain Underpants, but Captain Lasagna.
Oh yeah, Captain Underpants is good. All right, somebody throw it on Twitter. All right, everybody's doing the social. This is what it looks like when people tweet. Everybody who's here. This is what it looks like. Hello, what up, Music Shooter? And we got some good people here. Nicholas posted on the Discord. Have you guys used Discord yet?
I love Discord.
What do you guys use Discord for?
Play Minecraft with my friends.
There we go.
Yeah.
What else?
I only use it for one thing, Michelle Hunter's chat thing.
Oh, hell yeah. How do you like it? What'd you say?
I'd never heard of Discord before that.
You can, yeah, it's all video gaming stuff, right? It's mostly for gaming stuff.
I only have a PlayStation 2 and it doesn't work anymore, and I'm really sad because I just want to play Tony Hawk Underground every day.
Well, they're remastering
Yeah,
it.
they're coming back.
What
Do
are
any of
they?
you guys have a PS4?
What are they
No.
making?
Are they
Tony
making
Hawk.
Underground? Oh, the Pro Skater. Yeah, I really want to get that.
Oh yeah, new Tony Hawk or old new Tony Hawk.
Yeah.
The best game ever.
Yeah. I've been enjoying Discord. It's kind of cool. It's another thing that's like Twitch, where it's like not really meant for what we're using it for. But I feel like everything starts that way, and then if you use it enough, they eventually implement things. So like, hey, here, use this. Just like Twitter. I don't know when you guys started using Twitter, but I remember when it started, you couldn't actually post photos or tweets direct, like from your phone. You had to text a number to post anything, and you didn't.
That's before I used.
You had to text a number, and to upload a photo, you had to use like TwitPic.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I remember TwitPic.
What'd you say?
I remember TwitPic. I don't remember texting.
Yeah.
Great code.
You accidentally text the wrong number, it can cause a lot of problems. Straight to we had to call. I did like accidentally posted some things, and I had to like call my friend and be like, "Yo, go to my computer, log on my Twitter, delete that. It's not okay." Good old TwitPic.
And for my Twitter time.
There we go. All right, let's go. We got a bunch of people in here. Welcome everybody. We have a fun show here today. I guess like while people are trickling in, it's like we can well, I think it'd be good if everybody kind of took like a minute or two to just explain, I guess, like what they're doing right now, I guess would be the best way to do it. Maybe not right now currently because of Corona, like not that now, if that makes sense. But I'm saying like where you're at in your career. If that, so like, when Corona's, if you're shooting concerts or if you're working on something, just so people who maybe haven't heard of you before know what you're about at this current point in your life. I don't know if somebody wants to start that off or who's the least nervous.
Let's go.
I'll start if you guys.
Let's go, Danny.
So my name's Danny. I tour like a lot. I consider myself like a touring photographer. I've been on the road pretty constantly for the past, I would say, 2.5 years or so, working with bands. Young Culture is a band I work with really closely. They're like my best friends in the world, and we kind of do everything together. But I've also toured with Boston Manor and Knuckle Puck, Jetty Bones, Home Safe, Hot Mulligan, and just kind of been on the road a lot the last 2.5 years. I mean, not right now, but probably not for the rest of the year. But that's like kind of what I call myself, as like a touring photographer. But I also do album artwork and promos and all the other stuff that falls into that category of working in the music photographer business. But
hell yeah,
I'd say touring is like the big thing I do, and I love doing it. And I'm missing it a lot right now.
All of us, I'm sure.
It sucks.
Well, I'm kind of happy because we get you here right now. We probably wouldn't be able to do that otherwise. So.
Oh, make time, you know that.
Be touring. Cool. Well, thank you. Yeah. And then I don't know. Whoever wants to go next, go for it. Otherwise, I'll pick somebody. All right, Ruby, let's go. 7 a.m. baby. Let's hear it.
Wake up call.
Yeah, so I'm Ruby. I kind of just do a lot of random shooting here and there. No one really tours in Australia because there's like 5 cities. Actually, there's like 3 cities that people actually play. And
what are they?
Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane are the common.
Perth and Adelaide just got the boot, just so you guys know.
Yeah, but like they kind of did that to themselves because no one actually ever buys tickets. So like it's their own fault that no one goes there. But yeah, so kind of don't really tour. I live 3 hours away from Sydney, which is the closest city to me. So I travel up there every time I have a shoot. Kind of just
respect.
Yeah. So I'm kind of making the transition of like shooting for publications, still doing some paid work, but I'm kind of making the transition to doing like all paid work and fully just trying not to shoot much for free anymore, especially because I do have to travel so far. But yeah, it's pretty hard in Australia sometimes because there's obviously that our industry is like so tiny compared to anywhere else, and I feel like there's more competition in the sense that there's less opportunities. So yeah, I'm kind of just this year was going to be actually a really good busy year until Rona ruined it for everyone. But hopefully I can still, I don't know, I'm just in a weird transition phase where I'm kind of just almost
we can all relate
full time, but not really.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Hey, respect for making that 3-hour trip. That's not easy. Most people are like, I live in a small town, no concerts come here. You're like, I'll come to the concert.
Yeah. So I take that for granted. There's literally a venue, like I can walk across the street to my house to like a known venue that a lot of bigger acts like come through. I never really think about it that way.
So traveling far for concerts is pretty common in Australia.
Yeah.
Everything's far there.
You kind of have to, like, there's no, if you like don't live in the city or like, yeah, basically if you don't live in Sydney, Brisbane or Melbourne, you have to travel because it's very rare. Like most emo and like pop punk tours will do like heaps of dates. I don't know how they like pull a crowd in some of the places they go, but they're like the only kind of bands that do the smaller cities like Newcastle and Wollongong Wollongong is closer to me than Sydney, but nothing really happens there anymore. But yeah,
Well, now we know. Now we know.
basically have to travel all the time.
Well, hell yeah. Well, thank you for joining us today. All the way over early in the morning. Chris,
Thank you.
Chris, or Christian, do you want to go next?
Okay. Okay. So I don't really know how to put this, but so I'm a concert photographer. I've been doing this for a few years now. Last year I had a pretty big moment. I did my first full US tour with Christian friends, so that was really
Congrats.
exciting. And thank you. I felt like since then I kind of built up some momentum that I've been working towards for a few years, and it's been like trying and failing constantly with my photography and styles, and I felt like I was finally getting somewhere. And I live in Indianapolis, right, in the Midwest. Nothing ever comes here, ever. I always have to go to Chicago or Columbus or Louisville or Detroit for concerts. So since then, I've just been traveling a lot to other states to concerts because, like Ruby's situation, the concerts don't come to you. You got to go to the concert.
Yeah.
So
Amen.
yeah, I do a lot of just like individual concert shoots. I did a lot of festivals. This year was going to be pretty good for the festivals. Was going to do some of them, but then Miss Rona hit, and I actually had a tour I was going to do in May, and then
Congrats. Even though you're not doing it, still congrats. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then it was like 2 weeks after we locked everything in, they were like, "Hey, music industry's not happening this year." So
Yeah. It's okay. Next year will just be twice as much at once.
I mean, I guess not like an exciting story, but I'm just.
Nah, dude, we're not asking. We're not judging your story. We just want to know what you're about. But I wouldn't say you're failing. I think you said you're failing somewhere in there, and I was like, oh, I don't want to interrupt him. But stop.
No. I mean, like, for like the past year or two, like just trying and like failing different things. You're
just figuring out what
in terms
works.
of like switching up and stuff. Yeah,
part of the process.
A lot of trial and error.
I feel like you can't improve if you don't fail.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just figuring out what the
learning process.
Yeah. We all fail a lot. We just don't share those things online all the time. Maybe I should just start sharing every time I fail. People might stop following me though. It's a lot. I don't know about you.
Since everything shut down, all I've really been doing is flying my drone, and wow, it is a lot of fun. Let me tell you, it is exhilarating.
I'm really jealous.
It's terrifying the first like 100 times, but then after that, it's just so cool to see everything.
I really want to get
drone.
I got a drone in October and I crashed it within the first 2 weeks. It was terrifying. Yeah, I had the bright idea to like lift off right next to a tree, and
the tree caught it for you.
Yeah, not a cheap fix at all.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, every second person here in my town has a drone because we live at the beach, and I feel like the beach and drones just go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Are there drone wars when there's just such a high?
I haven't seen any, but there's this one really old dude who's like real angry at anyone that gets in his territory.
Does he have a gun or something?
If you bring your drone while he's droning, or if you have a camera, he'll be like, get real mad at you. It's so dumb.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Christian. Or Chris. I'm gonna just swipe between both of them today, and then hopefully we can still be friends. Thanks for the story. All right, Kay, what's up? Let's go.
I am from Fargo, North Dakota. Still live here. Always have lived here. Probably not for much longer, but so like both of you guys, I live in a little isolated. I live about like 3.5 hours from Minneapolis, which is like where I would go to catch the big shows. And we used to have it really great here with our own little DIY venue. That was just a few blocks away from me. So that's kind of where I found my footing as like a 15, 16-year-old who just wanted to fit in and wanted friends and wanted to be part of this community. And so it was just a lot of shooting every little tiny show that would come through town and being a freak with the turnaround times, getting them like the pictures, like a Dropbox link of pictures like a couple hours after the show was done. And just did that long enough to kind of build up a trustworthy repertoire, I suppose. And then say I did my first kind of proper little tour with Remo Drive and Jeff Rosenstock at like the end of 2018.
Okay.
And yeah, I've been on a exciting trajectory since then, I suppose. I started really touring a lot about a year and a half ago with Hot Mulligan. Me and Danny go way back with Hot Mulligan. Danny's the OG though.
You guys both tour. You guys kind of swap on the same artists.
Yeah, I think
okay, cool.
I got that tour because Danny was with Young Culture.
Oh, cool.
And then we ended up sleeping on his
teamwork
in my house.
Yes, I slept in.
Got a couple in my room here.
Know what that was.
That was the first time we met.
Yeah,
that's
the
awesome.
only time I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. Yeah, so I had a string of like 3 tours, and that was super dope. But in the summers, I kind of pay my bills with senior photos and wedding photos. So I kind of post up here in the summers, but more and more I've been able to fill my spring and winter and fall with music stuff, and I'm kind of allowing that to take over more. So yeah, I also should have been gone for the last like 3 months on the coolest tours of my life, but
man, that must have been so frustrating.
Yeah, like my last really proper tour was in August, like almost a year ago, and then yeah, it just went to Europe for a sec, and then an emergency kind of took that tour down. I only got to do a couple days. So then my next tour was going to be beginning or middle of March, and then I rolled up to it and only got to shoot 2 shows before the whole rest of the tour was canceled because of Corona.
Wow.
And I was supposed to do the second Europe tour all through April or May, and then was supposed to do full US in June. So a little bit of a bummer, but
we gotta
take naps and reading books and whatever.
Hell yeah. We gotta take a moment to thank Jer Music, who's in chat, because it was their idea to do this. And they're like, hey, can you get some photographers? So I was like,
awesome.
yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. Sometimes, I feel like, yeah, sorry, I hope I didn't cut you off too much, Sir K.
Oh, no.
Okay. Okay, cool. But yeah, thanks. I think this is a great idea as well, because it's definitely a good refresher to get, I don't know, people who aren't, like, we're getting people who seem sometimes in an unreachable spot in their career, and I like that this is more relatable in some ways.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
What was I going to say? Am, you want to go last here?
Yes.
All right, sweet. Go for it.
So I'm from the Inland Empire, Ontario, California. And I started shooting shows when I first got my Canon T3i. And I enjoyed going to the backyard shows in general because I supported a lot of like my homies' bands, all my friends' bands. And I saw a lot of like kids at the backyard shows using their cameras to like document kind of like the backyard scene and like just like all the energy that was going on, because the scene in the Inland Empire was like huge, like just like shows every weekend, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so I started to shoot those and got really into videography. And then photography came with that. So I just started to document, just local stuff. And then I actually met with a well-known photographer, the work of Jar. We met up at a show once in Los Angeles, and he was like one of the most influential like people in like the concert music photography that I've ever like seen. Like I loved his work so much. So I met up with him one day and picked his brain, and then we got super close and stuff. And he took me as like a +1 to a few of the shows that he was working. It was like I think we went to a I forgot. It was at the Palladium. It was a big show. Sorry, it's totally running my mind right now.
A larger concert than normal. Sorry, everybody just saw me talking.
Yeah, it was a way bigger concert than I've ever shot. The artist on the tip of my tongue right now. It's it starts with a P. It's like a girl artist. She's super sick. It's not Paramore. It's
Oh man! All right, can you guys figure it?
Whatever.
Phoebe Bridgers.
I'll come back to it.
Phoebe Bridgers. No.
Phanogram.
There you go.
Ah.
Phanogram. Super sick. Sorry, that was like blowing my mind. And I thought the production was like insane. Like their production, like shooting it with like my like camera in general was like one of the biggest experiences I've ever had. It made me really realize that like going to shows and like their production is like, it's like creates the whole canvas for you, you know? So I started shooting a few shows with him, and then I went on my first tour with Emarosa in 2019. Yeah, 2019. No, 2017. Yeah, 2017. Sorry, got my dates all
You're
mixed
fine.
up. I went on Emarosa's tour in 2017, and then I was on tour for 4 months after that, following other tours. I like tour hopped. So it was like I didn't go home for like 4 months. It was like Emarosa, and then Ocean's 8 Alaska, and then Wage War. Like
Oh wow,
all
you're jumping around.
Yeah, and it was like insane, but it felt oddly like the most comfortable because at the time I was like living out of my car and stuff. So like I was just doing the same thing but working and like traveling and meeting so many people and just doing the whole thing. And before then I just started doing more and more tours with more friends, and then just word of mouth stuff.
Networking.
Yeah, networking. Honestly, networking and connections are like the biggest reason why I did all the things that I did. Just talking and like getting to know people and all that. But after all those big tours and stuff, it started to kind of sink into me doing music videos and like stuff at home, like promos and all that cool stuff, because you got to take some time off of touring, be at home for a little bit, and go back on tour. So it's just like a bunch of that. And
now we're here.
Well,
yeah. Thank you guys for being here, and I like how everybody's story is so different. Everybody kind of comes from a different world, but we all kind of like the same thing. I'm sure everybody likes to network. I'm sure everybody likes to shoot concerts, and then everybody's found their own path. And I think most of you guys, I've met Danny before and Amber. I don't know. Christian, have we met? I don't know.
A Warped Tour.
Okay, don't make me. I was like, don't make me feel like a dick for asking this, but I know it was like.
Oh, it was
you don't remember me from the meet and greet? What the heck?
It was like before I was into photography.
Okay, so yeah, Warped Tour, our birthing ground.
I was just a Stanny.
Yeah, I met you at Soundwave 2013. Just like,
oh wow,
in the photo pit, and I was on the barrier with my point and shoot, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's Adam Almakai!"
Okay, so we've all met before. I'm just an asshole. Cool. All right.
Shut up. You're fine.
Don't worry, I was like 15. Very.
Adam, I can make you feel really bad real quick. Okay. At our Warped Tour.
At what?
So at our when was that? What year were you doing the Warped Tour meet and greets with your little like face background?
It was like 2015.
That's correct. I believe it was 2015.
I was there, and that was like right after I got my first like photography business cards, and I was like I had no clue what I was doing.
I'm so nervous. What are you about to tell me?
But I loved your work, of course, obviously. And I had like written like I don't even remember what it was. It was something like, I love your work so much. If you ever need like an assistant or something.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I gave it to you. Aww. And it was so sweet. And you were like, this is so sweet, but I can't read cursive.
Did I say that?
I was like, okay, fair. Yeah, you did. I don't care if it was
couldn't read your cursive. No, I'm just kidding.
It was ridiculous though. So
you just outed me. I'm sorry. That's really cool. No, I mean, I appreciate things like that, or whether it be writing on a business card or whatever. I feel like whether it's at that point in your career or going forward, like everybody's kind of had a thing where they're like, oh, I found this little thing and I did a little extra and now it got me somewhere. That's crazy. And I think that's a really good example of that. It's like, I'm going to get this guy I've never met before who I theoretically am very nervous to speak to.
But I'm glad nothing came of it because I was absolutely not qualified to do anything. And like now I kind of am. Sorry, my giant cat is good.
But I feel like we all feel like that when we go into something, right? Like we probably all feel like, I'm not qualified to do this. Why am I here? Why am I in this situation?
I still feel like that's
right.
Yeah.
And,
same.
And that's the thing. Absolutely. I think that's really the thing I wanted to talk about today was like how it feels to like become, somebody who's passionate about photography, or whether it be, shooting in your local area or something, and then go to professional, and how it isn't really like, it's not like something flips and then you're like, okay, I'm a professional. Even myself or other people that have been professionals for a while, it doesn't feel like you're just like, I'm just doing the same thing I was doing. I'm just writing notes on a business card, or I'm just going to the local show and shooting still. Like, I think that it's just that over and over. But I was wondering, for you guys, when you, I'm looking at my notes here. Well, first of all, I wanted to ask specifically, Ruby, Christian, and yeah, actually most of you guys, do you think it's easier to start doing music photography specifically from a small town because like getting a photo pass, obviously when you're starting out in New York, is quite a hard thing to do. There's a lot of professional photographers there. Do you think it helped you guys actually being in small towns, or what was it like trying to do music in those areas? And feel free to chime in, everybody. I forget where everybody started, but
I absolutely think so. Like, I was just thinking about how, like, when I first rolled up to shows, there was this girl that would shoot every show, and I thought she was so cool. But I always like tended to like stay out of her way just because I knew that she had been doing it for way longer than I was. And when she started to progress in her career and that spot kind of opened up in my scene, I think that was like so helpful, obviously. But I know a lot of people, you roll up to a show and there's like 15 photographers there, and it's like, how can you find your in a way that doesn't seem
wrong,
getting in the way or anything like that? So I definitely think it was a big plus.
I mean, even for me, because I started with a band here that I'm good friends with. We like went to high school together, and when they were playing like local show, like in these crappy little bars that you didn't need a photo pass for, I was shooting those. And then when I went to college, we had a lot of like house shows and stuff that I would shoot, and I did a lot of that kind of stuff. I feel like it makes you like appreciate like more of what you're doing, and then it made me appreciate when I like got to shoot a bigger show. I was like, oh, this is like really cool. But there are like people in this, because I'm from like upstate New York, and there is a venue across the street that is like a bigger venue, but I don't know anyone like really. Like now I kind of started knowing people that work there and stuff, but like to get a photo pass there the first time, I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. Like,
yeah.
And so I feel like starting off smaller and like doing those backyard shows and the house shows and the small bar shows, like it makes you appreciate the bigger stuff more.
Yeah. I think for me, like there's no music where I live whatsoever. So I think it was harder in the sense that I couldn't go to as many shows as maybe other photographers were going to. But when I started in 2011-ish. There was like no photographers. So I'm kind of glad I started then, whereas now there's like so many new photographers, which is really cool. So yeah, I would like my local shows were in Sydney, so I would just buy a ticket to like local pop punk shows and take my camera and just shoot heaps. And then yeah, once I'd started kind of getting a little portfolio of trash, I would send it to different publications, just I'm assuming how most people do it. And yeah, and then once I feel like it was easier because there wasn't that many photographers, so even at the bigger shows I shot, there was still only like 3 or 4 photographers. Even now, like if there's a show with 15 photographers, that's like insane for Sydney. Like that would never happen.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because like so many shows here, it's like the photo pit, if there is one, is like you can't move, and that's like a normal thing.
That's the worst.
It kind of happens at festivals. Like at festivals, everyone comes out. You've got like the old rock photographers, and
people come out of everywhere.
Yeah. But it's really cool because like we have a really great community in Australia. Everyone's very encouraging to each other, and because it's so small as well, like everyone knows everyone, so it's really cool. But I basically learned to shoot at this venue called Rad Bar in Wollongong, which is just like sick.
Crazy city name.
It's just like a house basically, and it was like 80 capacity, but there'd always be like 150 people there.
Yeah.
Floor show, like every band ever that's like has played there, but it's so bad. It's so bad to shoot.
Well,
I feel like it's way better to learn in small venues with shit lighting, because then you can shoot anything.
It gets easier, right? It's weird.
Yeah.
Well, I think like.
But yeah.
So somebody else gonna go? We're gonna go. Sorry.
Yeah. I was gonna.
Yeah, go for it.
I think it is easier in a sense when you live in kind of a smaller town. Because like you said, there's a difference between a small town in New York, whereas if you're in a big city, there's hundreds of photographers to choose from. So since I started in Indianapolis, I remember going to this local venue called the Hoosier Dome. I love that venue. It's a little hole in the wall. You know, like I love the people there. It's awesome. But shooting there back then, it was a nightmare because they had a terrible lighting system. Now they got a new one. It's pretty cool.
They've been upgrading a lot.
Yeah. Andrea's going crazy working on that place. I remember literally they had like shows there like 3 or 4 times a week. This is back when like you could book all the time. And I remember just taking my mom's Canon 30D, terrible camera there every day.
Chill out. All right, leave the camera out of this.
Yeah, it was like was not good in low light at all. I would take it there every day. My pictures were terrible, and for literally like 8 to 10 months, I just went constantly. I would rent lenses from borrow lenses to like try something out new. Oh, a Sigma 35. I'm gonna try this out. And after a while, just like shooting in this venue constantly, I just kind of lucked out, and someone from Europe messaged me on Facebook and was like, "Hey, we need a photographer for our publication. Do you want to shoot a show?" And I was like, "Oh my God, a photo pass? A photo pit? You mean I don't get to get kicked in the head constantly?" Yeah, let's do it. And I thought it was the literal coolest thing in the world to get that first. I literally have my first photo pass just hanging up.
It is a cool thing.
It was awesome.
Good job,
it was
man.
Great. But I think if I was in a different city where if someone was scouting photographers, they could have seen me, but they could have seen like 80 other people, and maybe that story wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
So I definitely think there's a benefit to being in kind of a remote location. You can stand out more.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know that you said you started in like Inland Empire, which is like not necessarily a small area, but the shows you're going to sounds like they were more small, like they're backyard shows. You said, right? So it's
super DIY stuff. That's just like where they get shut down by like 10 or 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
To roll through it, all those like learning how to kind of shoot in like low light, like backyard situations was very helpful for me actually. Like I think shooting in smaller places and like smaller venues and stuff is very beneficial to learning, because like I said earlier, like having production be so amazing in front of you is like a canvas is already, kind of doing its own thing. But when you when it's like more low lit or there's like less people and stuff, it's more like hands-on. And when you go to like bigger shows and you have 15 people in the pit, it's more difficult, and it's more of like being fast than like taking in the time to learn.
Yeah.
Big show. Does that make sense?
Especially when you get a photo pass and it's like you have 3 songs to shoot. It's like,
it's like
get everything in right now, and then
like the 5th song is going to be like the sickest lights, and you're like, no.
Yeah,
you know it.
Sometimes I'm convinced some artists are just like, all right, for the first 3, let's put on our most god awful lights.
You're not wrong.
Once that 4th song kicks in, full production.
Go crazy.
Let's go.
Can confirm it is real. But some like
the tea.
Yeah, but some I feel like LDs also, like if it's an artist choice, I think it's like irrelevant, but I think LDs specifically will make it nicer for photographers sometimes because they want they want those photographs. Do you know what I mean? Like the lighting designers, but
yeah, because like that's their art form.
Yeah,
and they're like, look how good I'm doing.
I like that. I like that Foles do the last 3 songs. I think that's really cool. And then he like,
that's awesome.
Really?
Old mate jumps
because they jump in the crowd. Yeah, they want you to get that. It is cool.
There's
it's more fun than the first 3.
Yeah, there's a band I photograph, Walk Off the Earth, and they let you photograph their entire set.
That's cool.
Yeah, I got that email. It's like photographers can shoot the whole set. I was like, okay, it's pretty sick.
That's sick.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like everybody kind of got their start or learned most of the tools in their arsenal, like at smaller shows, and it sounds like, across the board, everybody's like, you need to do these shows. This is how you learn, and then once you get to the bigger shows, there's more photographers. At least you're not thinking about how to shoot in low light. You're not thinking about how to frame it. Those things are just coming natural. What do you guys and like to me, like a lot of you guys stand out now because of like I see your work and you just edited perfectly and shot very well and everything's up to par, and maybe when you started you didn't really have to compete with everybody as much because there weren't as many people, depending on how far back your career goes. Like you're saying, there weren't as many photographers. But what do you guys do now, specifically on maybe a daily basis or like on a yearly basis, is whether it be portfolio or things like that, to stand out from other people? Or how do you get yourself noticed? Because I know that's like a really big question people have. What do you think works the best?
I'm still trying to figure it out.
Well, what are some things you've done that maybe you find don't work? Like anything, like maybe you've tried something and it didn't work.
So I went through a phase where I was making like whack edits of just like putting stars over shit, and it just and then like everyone just started doing edits, like not because of me, but it was like this at the same time everyone was doing.
It was the meta.
Like double exposure, like just star filters, just like all these kind of edits, and everyone was doing it. So I was like, oh, I might do something different and just kind of post the photos as they are, like with no, like obviously edit them, but no like crazy stuff. And then weirdly, like my engagement started getting better. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna like post. I think I'm just gonna stick to doing just like straight up photos of how it was or how I like saw it. There's some instances where if the photo's like real boring, I'll do something over the top. But yeah,
So you found when the pendulum swung all the way to one side, you're like, all right, in order to make myself stand out, even though that was what I did before, now I need to go to the other side because everybody's doing this. Whether and that makes sense. You just stand out. Yeah.
When all the prisms came in, I was like, okay, the prism, I'm done with the prism now.
Yeah, you got to be on to the next thing and the 2 things from now thing.
Yeah, and like getting the main kind of work I feel like in Australia for music photographers is festivals, because we have a ridiculous amount of festivals. So I was starting to get on a few festival teams, and I was like, oh, future people probably aren't going to look at my page and be like, oh, we want our festival photos to have these bloody double exposures and stars over them. So I was like, I kind of just started editing to how clients would
what they would request. That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm just gonna keep it plain.
What about the rest of you guys? Anything else you guys found that, like, I know a lot of you guys have unique styles too. Keep going. Sorry.
I feel like we all very much have like our own styles, which I think is amazing. Because I feel like I've gotten this a lot. It's like everyone's always like, your work looks like film almost. I feel like that's kind of become. I like love film, and I would shoot only film if it was possible, and like because you can't do that, or if people need photos day after. So I feel like that's where my work kind of goes towards, is like very film-like and very grainy, and I feel like that's probably helped me in some sense. But I really like, I honestly do like what I want to do for the most part. But I feel like that kind of sense, and like it looks like film, it looks like retro. I don't if that's the right word. I don't know. It's got like that old school vintagey vibe, like, and I feel like people do enjoy that. And that's just kind of like what I personally enjoy, and that's what I want to make. And if it works and people enjoy it, but I never want to like stray from anything that I like. If I want to do what I want to do, is what I'm saying.
You want people to hire you. You want people to hire you because of what you do. You don't want to hire you because you're doing something that somebody else does. That's fair.
I think that's always like a degrading question that comes into. I've noticed that some of my friends would get like hired for work, but like the client would ask them to emulate someone else's work. That always sucked, because it's like you want to be hired for your own style, like for what you do, and like not for what someone else does. Because I think that's like a really hard thing in the music concert photography, is that we're all taking pictures of the same exact thing, and it's people rocking out on stage and doing all the things they do, but trying to make it look different and try to like put some a splash of something else on that can like like be really stressful on you, because you want it to stand out and you want it to be a little bit different than yesterday's show, especially if you're on tour and stuff, and throw the flare on it or like stars on it and stuff like that. Because there's a few show photos that I did that I like threw something else on it to make it look cool. But then also at the same thing, you want to just do like a solid like photo, just like how it is without any crazy edits on it, and it's just a beautiful picture. It's like, and I feel like Danny on it too. It's just like you just want to do what you want to do, but everyone else seems like we're all doing the same thing sometimes. So it's hard to find your own style, I think, and we're still all learning our own style, developing it
I
currently.
feel like my edits
We
change
all are.
like day to day. Even like looking back a year ago, it's like my stuff now looks nothing like that, and it's crazy to think about.
I know. I look at my old edits from even a year ago, and I'm like, why did I do that?
I look at stuff from yesterday. I'm like, oh my goodness.
I think photography is just like a constant evolution. You know, you do something a year ago and you're so stoked on it, and a year later you're like, wow, that's terrible. Why did I do that? It's just like it's like a living document, just constantly growing and evolving every day.
Well, it sounds like everybody can kind of agree on this, and hey, I still want to get to you as well. But you know, like your photography brand is so closely knit to who you are, so that as you grow, your photography grows. You know, it's not like we're shooting product shots for a toothpaste company or something. You know, you're very much helping people experience this concert through your eye. You know, you're very much putting your own touch on that, and I think that's what's unique about somebody. I mean, even like Am's background here reminds me of her photography. Like, it's just freaking wild. And so like I feel like you guys very much live your photography, and that's why it changes that way. And you're not merely adjusting what everybody else does. What about Christian and Kay? I know both, or Chris and Kay. I know both of you guys edit like pretty like severe, or
That's a good severe. I'll take that.
Severe is often used as like a negative thing, and intense is probably better. I didn't mean anything negative, obviously. But when did you guys go from like shooting, like Ruby was saying, to something that, okay, this is the photograph, this is my eye? Like, when did you go from being like, I've got my eye down, you know, I've got how I want this image to look, but now I need to bring it up a little bit? Like, how did that happen?
Well, I mean, I was kind of thinking like there's so many different approaches to like concert photography in general, and especially at like the level where we're at, where it's not like arena shows. Obviously, it's like, you know, 100, 200, 300, 500 cap rooms, and like people are like, Amber, like your live photos, they're like pieces of like fine art of like the performers. Like, so you can go for like the fine art aspect, but it kind of depends on like the band that you're working with. Like the bands that I've toured most with are more like emo, kind of get into the crowd, a lot of crowd interaction and stuff. So I kind of started leaning on, for my touring style, to be more kind of revolving around the people in the crowd, because that's like what was differentiating the photos from day to day. When Amber, you can make like a whole new like piece of fine art each day. But sometimes, like other photographers might go for like the crowd changing. And and then I just figured out that I love ridiculous colors, and and here we are.
Before we go forward, I just want to say thank you to Luis/Real Valles for
we love
gifting
Luis.
us. Luis for sorry, I said it wrong. Luis, it's been a while.
That is the king.
For donating a sub here, so thanks for doing that, and thank you, Kay, for chiming in there too.
He's such a good photographer too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love him.
Yes, we gotta get him on here sometime. I haven't seen him in forever.
Yeah.
Go visit him in Florida.
Sure, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's like every time I get somebody, people are like, why don't you have this person? I'm like, I can only do like a few people a week. Like I want to get everyone. Yeah, why?
Can't do everyone.
Why didn't you do this? It's like, but this is what we did do. Let's do this. I try my best, but no, that makes sense on the editing. What, Chris? I think I cut you off a little bit earlier, but anything else you want to chime in on this?
Oh yeah, so basically how I kind of came in, my style. For about a year or two, like I had the same style. It was, honestly, you look back, it was pretty bad. There's no denying it was pretty bad. Like sometimes I go back and look at the presets, they're terrible. I had no idea what a tone curve was at all. It's just like all over the place. And it didn't get me anywhere in my photos. And I had one night where I was talking with my friend Cody, and I was like, hey man, I just shot All Time Low in Chicago. And I was like, hey man, like, what are your opinion on these pictures? And he's like, honestly, man, they just look like everything else you've done. And it was him telling me this. It's like, hey, like they all look the same. This was like in 2018, and I kind of realized, I was like, damn, he's kind of right. So I stayed up. I spent about like 9 hours on Lightroom, just messing around constantly for the next 2 weeks. I watched YouTube tutorials on editing. I got my girlfriend, a bunch of friends together every single day. We drive up to a state park. We drive to the middle of nowhere and do photos. We were doing shoots every single day, and I was watching tutorials. Like I was like eat, sleep, breathe, think tutorials nonstop. And I like
eating tutorials,
dude. Yeah, like I mean, like just tutorials go a long way. Like just hearing other people explain things and break it down. And I just had this breakthrough one night where I was making these presets, and I was like, wow, this is so colorful. I love it. It's unique. It's different. And I've been building upon those presets for the past year and a half or two. And I'm just like constantly learning. So never underestimate the power of a good tutorial, because wow, they really help.
Christian, you sent me a tutorial. Remember when you sent me your the secret sauce for your stars? Yeah. That changed my life. That was so fun. Could not figure that out. And you just made me my own little tutorial.
I love how down everybody here is to. Oh, sorry. I love how down everybody is to learn here.
So good.
What'd you say, Ruby?
Like
Christian's work is just chef's kiss.
I like this, chef's kiss.
I mean, you're all amazing, but I just thought I would say that.
I try very hard.
Yeah, I like the sense of like, I know everybody wasn't here to see it, but when we logged on, it was like, do you guys know each other? Everybody's like, oh yeah, we all know each other. We all talk on the internet. I was like, this is great. Like, this is
on each other's floors.
Yeah, this is like the community that like I don't know I don't know when everybody specifically started photography here, but through my own experience, I started in 2005, 2006, and at that point there wasn't community. It was actually, in my opinion, and I'm not sure if it was me projecting my own insecurities or if that was actually what I was witnessing, but there was the opposite. It was quite competitive, deterring, cutthroat. Like it was the mindset of like, hey, if you are doing this, that means I can't. It's not like, hey, if you're doing this, that means I can, because look, somebody's doing it. But it really means a lot to me that all you guys are here, everybody's talking, and the thing I like about everybody here is that everybody just seems down to constantly learn, and I think that's what's cool about it. And you know, I hope that other people see that and know that like these people are getting where they're getting because they're open to learning, whether it be eating a tutorial or doing anything. Like they're just learning. That being said, does anybody else want to say anything on that? Feel free to bounce off that. Otherwise, I'll just keep going.
Well,
I was going to say in the chat.
Everyone's like,
sorry.
Go at the same time. 3, 2, 1, go.
You go, Danny.
Well, I shot my first show in 2014, and that was more like casual, like just trying it out. But when I really want to start like doing it in 2016, I was like, I want to like do this. I mean, I felt like the same way you did that. I was like intimidated to shoot shows like from seeing other photographers at shows. And like where I went to school in Oneonta, which is in New York. We had like a bunch of good bands, like Foxing Play Their Turnover, Tigers Jaw, like all these like bands in our scene. And I remember shows where I was like, I didn't shoot because I was intimidated and like scared to shoot because there was other photographers there. And looking back, I think it's like I was just dumb and, you know, like a young kid intimidated. But so it's like, just go out and do it and like don't be scared to do it. But I feel like that kind of sits in a lot of people like who are getting into this more. You are scared to like, because there are other photographers there that may be like more established as you, but like none of us like care, and we all want to like help each other, and that's like the community. You shouldn't be scared to go out and do what you want to do. But it's definitely like a thing I feel still like, I mean, I felt it, and you know, even still like some days it can feel that way. But
I don't know if it's like this in the US, but it's crazy how like confident the new photographers are now. Like when I started, I was so scared. I was like,
I was so nervous.
And now you got like the kids come into the photo pit and they're like, what up? Give me a photo pass to Gambino.
Yeah. Or they're just like on Twitter and they're like constantly like, they're like, hey, give me a photo pass tomorrow. And like, yeah. But it's like, I remember being scared to tweet like, oh, am I going to look like a leech if I tweet this? Like, I
I
want
know,
to shoot
I'm
the
like,
show.
oh, so funny. I'm like, you have to
I mean,
work.
it's definitely cool that they have that confidence.
To shoot a show.
Yeah.
It's your guys' fault. You gave them the confidence. I blame everybody here. Good job, though. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, somebody asked earlier, Unholy Racket. I don't even know if they're still here. It was almost like 20 minutes ago. But they wanted to say, like, when you're touring, when you guys are touring, or maybe going to a show. If you're not touring, maybe you're going to a show and like another scene. Like, how does it feel going into that local scene every day? And is there anything you do to kind of, I don't know, make yourself less intimidating to those people who might be intimidated by you?
I always gave anybody else in the photo pit, like, I think a little bit too much respect, to the point where I missed a lot of photos I was supposed to get. But anyone that seemed like they were like struggling or new or anything like that, I just gave them all of what I could give them in that moment. It's even in the photo pit, like you guys were saying, there's like a lot of like new photographers out there that seem to be super confident and stuff. It's like they just like come into the pit and they just like kind of like take over everything and just like need all that space, and like that's cool. But I feel like one thing to make everyone feel uncomfortable is to just be very respectful of their space and like watch what they're doing. And you guys like are kind of like dancing together in the photo pit, if that makes sense, rather than fighting for the shot, if that makes
One
sense.
big
Yeah, that makes
elaborate
sense.
dance.
Yes, I like that. Real fast, Kay, somebody wanted to know what the tutorial was that you got from Chris. Is there like...
Because a lot of Christians' photos have little sparkles. Like the one that I saw that like blew my mind was John Mayer's guitar. And I was like,
yeah.
what is
Photo.
that?
Is there a way we can find that tutorial online and throw it in the chat? Is there somewhere we're going, Chris, or is it doesn't?
I made it for her.
All
You
right.
could definitely do something a little more formal
Yeah.
if you want, because it was like, all right, so what you gonna do? Just do this, and then this, and then.
Oh, it was like, here is a tutorial for you. It wasn't like, here's my tutorial.
Personal tutorial.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry,
'Cause I
guys.
had made, sorry, guys. Yeah.
Got it.
Like,
It's a quick little 2-minute thing. It like wouldn't be really difficult to put one together. You do like 4 things and that's it.
No,
Yeah.
guys.
Do you do it with,
I
do you
would
do it
like
with
to see.
motion blur?
What was that?
What?
Do you make it with motion blur?
Yeah.
Well, we got 1 of 4 down. We're good.
I've tried to do it so many times and I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't figure it out.
It's all good. We'll see what we can do. A Crew Stick wants you to start a YouTube challenge.
Hey, Krasick, that's my girlfriend.
Oh, Christian started a
Big
YouTube
supporter.
challenge
That's
page.
my
My
girlfriend.
number one thing.
How do you say
She's
their
awesome.
name? How do you say her name?
Her last name is Krasick.
A Chris.
Just Krut and Sick.
Okay, cool last name.
Yeah.
I love when
Cool.
people's family or friends support them. I was like, we had like, it actually made my like day. We had a guy on here the other day with Danilo Lewis. He's like Chainsmokers photographer, and he had an intern out on him on tour, which I thought was the coolest thing ever.
Oh.
And that was Chainsmokers doing. He wasn't like, hey, I need an intern. They were like, hey, you are going to take this intern. And he did, and the intern came on the channel to talk about it, and he's like, my parents watched, and they loved it. And it was like the coolest thing ever, and I was like, yes, we got parents on Twitch. Let's do it.
That's sick.
Yeah, it was
That'd
pretty
be
cool.
sick.
I was pretty stoked. Sorry, I had to brag about that. I thought it was cool. That's all I got.
It's really sweet.
Cool. So moving forward, does anybody else have anything they want to say that's on their mind? What we talked about? Feel that we're in no rush, so by all means. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going through my notes.
Back to what you were just saying about like how to make people not feel intimidated.
Yes.
I always just try to say hi to people in the photo pit if I don't know them, because I know like literally no one ever did that to me. So I was like, I'm gonna do that. And yeah, I find that helps. Except sometimes they just like stare at you and they're like, okay. But yeah, most of the time I think it like kind of makes them feel more comfortable and less nervous about shooting the show.
Have you guys ever been kicked out of a photo pit?
So many times.
on your own tour, that's annoying.
Did you say on your own tour?
So
Yeah, when you get kicked out of the pit on your own tour.
You're like, this is not how it works. I'm sorry.
I work for them. Please don't let me leave.
Also the girl thing as well. Learning to be a female touring photographer was...
You gotta have some thick skin, I bet. You gotta be like you gotta put like both feet down. Guys are like it's hard enough being a photographer. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure everybody can relate. Like, oh, they got a camera, get
Yeah,
them
you're
out.
like already hardly part of the crew.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, you have everybody assuming that you like
Shouldn't
pulled
be
some
there or something.
to get
Yeah.
in there. Yeah.
Yeah. I was shooting for a festival one time, and the act that I was about to shoot had pyro. It wasn't like anything crazy. It was just like CO2 and fire, which is happens a lot in Australia.
Yeah, it's
just
like fake fire.
pretty
Cold
average.
fire.
And this male photographer, I was shooting for the festival, and so was he. And he like went into the pit to shoot it, and I was following him. And the security was like, "Oh, you can't come in. You're not allowed. You can't handle the pyro." And I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "That you just let that guy in, and he's like shooting. We have the same accreditation."
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, I've been told that you're not allowed in." I was like, "Are you gonna kick him out?" I was like, "What?" And he's like, "No, you're not allowed in. The pyro's too crazy." And I was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
And then
There's so many.
my friend had to come over and be like, "Are you good, bro? Like, let her in."
Don't you
Anyway,
know
he
that
still
girls
didn't
are
let me
more
in.
flammable? Just looking out.
Who said what? What'd you say, Kay?
Girls are just way more flammable than men, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, I was in a pit one time and I wish I had hair because the fire was so hot and they wouldn't let us leave the pit. And I was crouching down like this. I was like, please let us out of here. It was like a Coachella, it was a Coachella pit for, I forget the name of the female artist. I forget her name, but she plays guitar and she kind of looks like a robot on stage. But anyway, it was so strong. I was like, God, this hurts. Let me out of here. So it was like the opposite. Anyway.
For some reason, I thought Casey Musgraves, and then I was like, Casey Musgraves probably didn't have pyro.
It was
That
not
would be
her.
sick.
You never know.
I support it.
Yeah, St. Vincent. There we go. Thank you, Maggie. What up, Maggie?
Oh, she's so sick to shoot.
My puppy came to visit.
What up? Oh, you're about to get one up by
This is
Am
Daisy.
right here.
So cute.
What's up, Daisy?
Oh, whoa.
Cute.
I locked my dog out because he barks a lot.
Show the kitten too. Come on, let's go. I know you got a kitten somewhere in your room.
Oh my gosh, Michelle, Maggie.
Okay, why are you wet?
What up, party?
Did you go swimming?
Oh.
I don't know where my cat is. Probably.
Wow.
We got.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's Copernicus.
I got
That is
nothing.
a cute cat.
I got Charlie. That's all I got. All right. Yeah. No. That's. Well. Long story short, if you guys ever get kicked out of a pit, it's probably because you didn't do something wrong. It's probably because somebody else. Who you never know. There's so many reasons to get kicked out of a pit, and it happens to everybody. And don't feel bad about it. And if you see any of us at a show or anybody who you've seen do something like this, just talk to them, ask them for help. They'll be there because I know how bad it feels to be kicked out of a pit and be alone and just be standing there and being like, but I went all this way for this.
Yeah.
I've gotten into some arguments with security guards before, man.
Oh yeah.
So
I was just start running at festivals. I just run away. I'm like, all right.
I remember to try a different security guard after that.
Yeah.
I remember this one time, a kid got kicked out like after the 3 songs. He obviously didn't know that he had to leave the pit.
Mm-hmm.
And so we all left, and he's like arguing with the security guard, like, "What do you mean I have to leave?" And I had to go over to him. I was like, "Bro, like we only get 3 songs." He's like, "Who said?" I was like, just get out.
Yeah.
In a minute.
Ketchup and mustard, peanut butter and jelly, 3 songs, concerts. Get up. Yeah.
Oh, poor kid.
Yeah. Getting kicked from the pit is a rite of passage, Connor says.
Yeah,
I would say so.
definitely.
Then it's a game changer when you get your first all access pass, though.
I've been kicked out of the pit with one.
What?
You're like, I'm gonna kick you out.
The tour, Adam, it was that Day to Remember tour before you hopped on. They were doing like some marshmallow bit, and Day to Remember was like, "Can you film this bit?"
Yeah.
Because their photographer was filming on stage, and he's like, "Can you film it from like the pit?" And I went in, and I was like,
that
told me
Knocked
to
Loose
film this.
tour?
And they're like, "Yeah, the Day to Remember Knocked Loose Boston Manor," and they
Yeah.
were like, security was like, "No, you can't come in." I was like, "I have an all access," like, and they told me to come do this, and they're like, "No, you gotta go." And I was like,
Well, it's hard, right?
Like 4 other security guards to get in, and then I was like, missed what I was supposed to do, and
It's because security's told by their boss that they can't do something, and that person you're talking to can't change what's happening. It's just like so hard in a concert. I don't know about you guys, but I try to like introduce / meet all the security guards before the show, if you can. They're
Yeah.
super. There's definitely
I should
out of
start
their
doing
comfort zone, but it's really funny. You're just like, hey, I'm shooting tonight, and they're like, okay, oh, okay, but
It actually has helped a lot in
yes.
the past. Before that show, just be like, hey, just letting you know, don't kick me out in 5 hours. I really need to be.
Oh,
Securities
Start
have
doing
such a power trip as well. If you like tell them like what the deal is, they're like, no, that's not what
Yeah.
I've been told, even if you're right. I've like there's been so many times where we've been told we could shoot the whole show or like stay after the first 3 songs and watch, and they just like kick us out. I'm like, we're actually gonna stay. They're like, no, that's not right. And then I'm like, well, it is, and I'm not leaving because I just drove 3 hours. So like, let
figure it
me in.
out. Yeah, it's crazy like how much. It's so hard to explain to somebody else because it's hard to tell other people like, yeah, in my job sometimes people physically remove me from doing my job. Like I remember like shooting, I think it was Future in Wireless Festival in UK, and Future, it's, you know, there's like obviously the security for the venue and there's the security for Future, like the private security, and the private security always is like strapped and like has stuff, and they kicked us out, and I was like, oh, we got to get out of here. But it would be, I always thought it'd be really funny if you got your own private security, so that when people try to, you had like security be like, no, my security is going to talk to your security, and
And then we're gonna make our securities fight.
yeah, and then I'll just shoot, and it'll be great.
I like kind of had a situation like that happen. They weren't actual security, but I was at this little festival, and I was like trying to go backstage where literally all my friends were. Like I had the right pass and everything, and I was the only girl out of like everyone there. So I was, yeah, the actual security guy was like, oh, you can't come in. And then it was like all my friends just like created this army, and they just like bunched around the security, and they were like, she can come in. She's fine. She's with us. And like full argued, and they were like, oh, okay. And I was like, yes.
That's
I
Good
had
homies.
I had one time when I photographed the Amity Affliction in Indy, and there's a security guard there, and he was just, it was a really small pit, and this dude was literally just pushing photographers, just straight up shoving them. I mean, I'm 6'4". This dude straight up grabbed me and threw me into the barricade so hard that they actually stopped the set for a few seconds. So the vocalist, Mike's like, "What the fuck's your problem, dude?" And it was like a year into shooting shows, and I was just like full of adrenaline and anxiety because that never happened at that point.
You're like,
These security dudes, sometimes they just get on a power trip.
yeah.
Like,
It's, I mean,
ridiculous.
it's hard. Like I know like at smaller shows, especially like we're talking like as shows get bigger, like you know, a couple thousands, or they get to be in arenas and stuff, then they have like security meetings, and those are so much more helpful.
Yeah.
But when you're rolling up to these small venues where it's so much word of mouth, there's so much room for confusion, and everybody's got a different boss, and everybody's got a different paycheck, or somebody, you know, it's, I never try to fault the security because at the end of the day they're just trying to do their job, but yeah, it's definitely hard.
Yes, Michelle, Joel
Frustrating.
from Amity is the best.
Yes, Joe's awesome.
Who say what? Oh,
Michelle
I have an
said
Amity
Joel from
tattoo.
Amity is the best.
Oh, yes. What's your
Love that
guys'
band.
favorite show we're kind of getting on an hour here, so we'll try to wrap it up the next 15-20 here if that's cool with everybody's schedule. Is everybody good? That's me asking. Not
no, y'all can stick around all day.
All right, cool. So questions from Music Shooter. They want to know what everyone's top show to shoot is, or favorite show that they've shot, maybe.
Oh wow.
It's a hard one.
Hmm.
I think I got mine.
All right, let's go. What everybody thinks. Let's hear it, Danny.
So Young Culture is a band I work with like really close, and we're all best friends. And in last year, they had their like EP release show at a venue in the mall by me. It's like I think the venue's closed now, but it was like a bowling alley, gaming, and there was a venue. The venue is probably like 500 cap. And I shot Young Culture's first show 4 years ago to like 10 people. And that show they drew in like 450 kids.
Oh wow.
And like just like seeing like from day one to that, and like being able to shoot that and like see my friends do their thing, it made me cry, and I like had chills all night. And that's like one that really stuck out to me, to like be able to see the growth of a band from day one to, you know, 3 years down the road, and be able to document like that whole 3 years. Like just really rewarding, and like for them to have like the time of their life on stage. That's like always one that will stand out to me like for the rest of my life for sure.
That makes sense. Sorry, I accidentally closed chat, so I'm trying to recover all the questions I missed. Does anybody else have top show they've shot now that you've had time to think?
Can I give like 2? They're like tied. Unacceptable.
Yeah,
okay,
dude. Yeah, of course. Give 2. Go for it. Who cares?
Okay, so 1 was Metallica in 2017. That was the first band I ever saw live when I was in 5th grade, and so being able to photograph them was like kind of like a rite of passage for me. It was like a full circle moment, and I got to shoot them in Detroit. It was at a baseball stadium, and that was like one of the greatest feelings of my life.
That's so sick.
Because I had like applied for them twice and gotten denied, and then finally I got that email, and dude, I felt like a kid on Christmas. And then
that only happens
another
once
one,
a year.
and then the other one that's tied with it is when the 1975 did their brief inquiry tour. I got to shoot them in Chicago. They played an arena.
Oh wow!
And I went with my girlfriend, and it was like just one of the best nights of my life. I was just on cloud 9 the entire time because it's like one of my favorite bands. Just dropped a new album. Got to shoot them for Interscope, nonetheless. So it was like another very proud moment for me.
Dream band to shoot.
Yeah, dude, and they're so much fun to shoot, dude. Like
It's
all
so
the
good.
rectangles.
They're my favorite band. Like I want to shoot them. I've never even seen them live.
What? Dude, they're so good.
Yeah, they are.
This
very
is gonna
good.
be the year.
1975. They had dancers with them recently too, and they were awesome.
Yeah.
They had, like these 2 dancers.
Yeah.
I was like, I love when musicians have dancers.
Yeah.
Would
So,
100% recommend seeing them.
say what?
Adam,
Would
have you shot them
100%
before?
recommend.
Okay, Christian.
Sorry,
then
Christian.
No, I said, have you shot them before? I know you shot a lot of bands.
1975. Yeah. I saw them like the first time I saw them. Actually, they played the small stage with 21 Pilots in Florida at this radio show, and I was like, with the day to remember, I was like, you guys gotta come watch this band with me. 1975 and 21 Pilots, and nobody came and watched with me, and I was like, all right, I'll go shoot.
Wow.
It was like such a fun day.
Nowadays, that like everybody would be all over that.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah.
What were you saying, Ruby?
I was just saying I would 110% recommend seeing the 1975. if
Great.
anyone had
Good
that.
live band. It's like art, huh? They just have like an artistic vision every album.
Yeah.
It's
And,
like perfect lighting.
Yeah.
And like everybody there is just such a super fan. Like everybody, like those lyrics just echo back and forth wherever you are. It's just such a good vibe.
Agreed. What about Kay and Am? You guys have any? Or Ruby, I don't know if you can share yours yet. Everybody else, tell me your top show.
I got one real quick. I was like one of the first like proper concerts I had shot before, because I got like a little gig working with the booking company that we have like one like decent sized amphitheater here, but it's pretty much only like country acts that come through. But like 2 years ago, Weezer came through, and so I was like, yeah, so I got to shoot Weezer, and I was like hired to shoot it. I like got paid to shoot it.
Congrats.
And it just like blew my fucking mind. I was like the only person there that had a camera, like only person that was shooting it. And they did a little thing on like the 3rd song where they all went like back to back, and it was just right in front of me. And I was like, wow, this moment is me. It's mine. And it was like,
That's awesome.
yeah, it was fun.
I just want to give a quick shout out while Am and Ruby think about their show, but we've got like Jar in here and Maggie and Michelle and
hey guys,
a bunch of homies and Parker who was on the show the other day and Nicolita. It's like just a lot of friends here supporting. So thanks for supporting all these people and coming and checking out their words today, because that's what we're trying to do here, and it's happening. And I know that awesome. Am talked about Jar earlier, and Connor put his link to his work in there too.
You, Jar.
Say what?
I was gonna say, yeah, I mentioned you, Jar.
Yeah. Somebody asked how they got started. We kind of went over that. So if you actually, this will all be up on YouTube, but you can also literally go to clips right now on the Twitch stream and just rewind an hour, and you can watch anything that we've discussed. So you guys have top shows that come to your mind? It sounds like most people's top show are like things that really made them feel some type of way. So
it was shooting. I was on tour with Hands Like Houses last year, and we went through Sonic. and I was able to see System of a Down. That's like my favorite band growing up, and that was like crazy. I took a few pictures, but it was one of those shows that it was like it was like
We're laughing
so
at Ruby, not you.
Sorry.
We don't care. It's Twitch.
it was nostalgic that I couldn't even really shoot it because I was like just singing the songs and just losing my mind the whole time. I never thought I would see System of a Down play, but it was
That's so sick.
it was so fun, dude.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
System of a Down's so good.
Yeah.
I've only seen him in Australia. Shout out Ruby.
Oh.
The best country.
Yeah. Whoa. Hold. I said System of a Down. I don't know where you went. It's a big jump here, but all right. I'm just
All the way
kidding.
to the other side.
Yeah, I think my favorite show that I've shot was The Cure.
Oh, wow.
They're like one of my all-time favorite bands, and I like cried when I got the confirmation email. They were doing it.
It's like getting a college acceptance. You're like,
Yes. They were doing it. Oh, I think it was 30 years of Disintegration. Little few shows in Sydney, and at the Sydney Opera House, which is really amazing to shoot at. Not like, yeah. Anyway, it's a great venue to shoot at.
we all know the venue, and none of us are from Sydney, so
Yeah.
that's how famous it is.
It's like not actually good to shoot at, but like it's just cool being to shoot
Like
in the Opera House.
iconic.
The experience. Yeah.
But yeah, the first 3 songs went for like 12 minutes each.
Oh, wow.
So long, and I was just like, I can't believe this is happening.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a blessing.
When bands
So,
do
yeah.
that, I'm like, do you know what you're doing? Do you know what you're
That's
doing
it.
for me?
And they were so chill as well. Usually when it's like that, they're like, okay, first 15 minutes, but they let us stay for the whole like half an hour.
That's so
And I was
cool.
like, oh my god, I don't even remember much of shooting it. I just remember like standing there and being in awe that Robert Smith was right in front of me.
Yeah, you were just like in the zone. I mean, like, I'm sure everybody can relate when they had that show. Like, it's just like everything comes together, and you're like, wow. It's like
Yeah.
one of those moments you're like, I'm here. I get to do this. This is my living, and it's like you like kind of, I don't know. Sounds like everybody had that moment there. I can see it in your eyes when you're discussing it. And
Yeah, it was
that's
cool because every other photographer was like shooting for Getty or like someone like that, and I was definitely the youngest person there by like 20 years. But I was like, I don't care. This is the best.
Yeah.
They're probably like, what publication are you working for? And you're like, Twitter.
Yeah, and that's definitely probably my top favorite. And then another one is Florence and the Machine.
Oh yeah, they're so they are so
Years
good.
ago, maybe last year. I can't remember, but it was a good show.
She
It was
dances
amazing.
so
I remember your
beautifully.
photos from those.
Yeah, that whole day was so chaotic leading up to like the actual show. It was just a nightmare, and I almost didn't actually make the show. I was really stressed, and then I ended up getting some of my favorite photos I've ever taken, which is pretty funny because I was just like, I'm not gonna get anything because I don't have the right gear that I was supposed to pick up on the way.
Every time. Every time I think that I'm not gonna get the best photos, or I think I'm not gonna get any good photos, they end up being like some of my best.
You're like, this
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
it's like I try so hard to be like intentional about what I do, and then every time something happens that's just wrong, it's the best. I'm like, why do I just try less? It's like, it's
No,
like okay.
actually,
Just don't
serious.
think.
I think that the whole thought process that you have when you're like thinking that it's not going to be a good show, you try a little extra harder, and
Yeah.
then it ends up turning out amazing. And then when you think that it's going to be a super like laid back, easy shooting show, then you maybe try less, and then you go back home and you're like,
Let me know next time you shoot a show. I'll give you a call.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk shit to you for like 20 minutes. You're gonna have the best show ever. Yo,
That's what
John.
happened
You're
at the 1975. I was like, oh, this is gonna be so good to shoot, and then I had too much fun in the pit. Not like actually, but yeah, I like looked at the photos. I was like, oh, I probably could have done better. Oh well.
Yes. Yo, Jar.
Fun is
Jar.
just as important.
Jar said his favorite thing is when it's like a DJ or somebody with a seamless interlude, and they don't know that the song ended, and you just gotta stay there longer, and you're like.
Yeah.
Great feeling.
He also asked a really good question earlier, and this is a
Win with that.
What's up?
He went in with that question. I was like,
Yeah. He said, how do you structure an agreement with a client before the start of a tour? Do you have a template of the deliverables talent management should expect? Or you deliver different things in accordance to the circumstances of a tour? So basically, what do you agree upon before a tour is what he wants to know. If anything. Do you guys have any pointers? Or?
I've never had any band reach out for tour and be like, we've never like come to any agreements. So it's just been like,
They just know
do you
what's
want
up.
to come on the tour? Like, and I just do what I do. I've never had to deal with that, which I think it's interesting that like people do have to deal with that because obviously artists do
Well, you have a
want,
relationship
like,
with
certain
them.
looks, yeah. But every band I've worked with, it's just been like there's never been any like prior discussion as like we want like this specific thing. It's just been like do what you want to do, and that's cool. So for me, I've never had that.
Is anybody?
Yeah.
Go for it. Whoever's going.
So I only have like one large scale kind of tour under my belt, but with that one, we actually did structure something out. We were gonna have like a FaceTime conference, like to talk about things and work it out. But at the time, we ended up going to LA for my girlfriend for like a little Disney trip. And at the time, the artist Christian French was in LA, so I ended up going over to his rehearsal space with him and his managers, and we worked out a bunch of details on like what they want on the tour, what they were looking for, and it was actually kind of like a few hour long thing. He told me what he wanted, what kind of style he was looking for on the tour. He wanted his brand elevated and what kind of videos he wanted, and it actually really helped a lot. Like it definitely gave me a sense of what I should do and what I shouldn't do. And
That's great.
we ended up,
That's cool you were able to do
we
that.
actually, we had a contract. It was nice.
Mm.
Well, I was gonna say, like, does anybody else have something to say, or am I good? That's good.
I guess
All
it
right.
just depends on the tour. It just depends on like because I've done tours where they wanted more video and then tours where they wanted more photo and then specific types. I guess it's just all in their stylistic choice and stuff like that.
And
I've never really done a tour contract.
I think the underlying theme, especially with your guys' relationship with these artists, is that these people aren't reaching out to you and just hiring you out of the blue. They're people you've had relationships with that that you have an understanding, and you're kind of all on the same page. So whether we take it for granted or not, and I've definitely run into this from the outside, somebody being like, you don't have a contract? I was like, no, they just say, hey, come on tour, you show up, you do your job, and then it's all good. And if something goes wrong, they tell you and you fix it. And you kind of just do. But I think the situation is, let's say, like, Ruby, let's say the Cure hires her, and they're like, hey, we want you to come out. You're not just going to show up and be like, all right, I'm just doing me. You're going to be like, so I think the pointers are like, how much you're getting paid, what are you delivering each day, where are you sleeping, what are you eating, and do you get buyouts or PDs? I think those are like the bullet points that people would go over that you guys probably all get, and you just never had to talk about it because it's like your friends. It's like calling up a friend and saying, hey, do you want to hang out? You don't have to like discuss everything you're going to do before you go hang out. You just go hang out and do whatever you're going to do. It's just that I think that's a good way to put it. It's just I think that's why. Danny, you said you grew up with some of the bands, or Christian. I know you had like one of your bigger tours coming up, but I don't know. You said you met with them and Christian became his friend, so they're on the same page. That's how it works.
I've known him since I was in like 6th grade.
All right, well I'm just wrong.
Yeah, so there's already that relationship.
I'm trying here, man. I'm just trying.
It's okay.
Yeah, but
you try.
Yeah, but that's so you're just working with people, and I think once you're in the position, it'll make more sense. But if you ever make like a jump in your career, you can always hit up these people and ask them, what would you do in this situation? What should I ask for beforehand? And even though they don't have to do it in their own specific way, for like Danny's saying for his tours, or Am for hers, they might have some tips for you. I hope that if you correct me if I'm wrong on anything, guys, I'm just riffing.
I would agree with that.
I don't think you should ever be afraid to ask for help if you're unsure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like circumstances can vary so much. Like with the bigger tours that I've done, I got to do them because, especially with the bands that I was working with, there's like really limited amount of seating, like at the van and stuff. So a lot of times they need a photographer and a merch person. So I was able to secure some tours by doing merch as well.
That's awesome.
Like so when you're doing merch, you have like another factor into it, and that like the amount that you settle on like per week or whatever, is going to be that, but then you're also going to get tips and stuff. So there's kind of a lot more to think about with that.
Would you guys suggest doing something like that? Like if you want to get into touring, how valuable do you think it is to be multifaceted?
Very.
Yeah,
I mean,
I love
I've done merch and photo, and
Yeah.
it's been like a major key to, and like even driving, if you're in a van, I think I've had like tour offers where it's like, can you drive like a lot? And that's like been a thing. It's like if you can do multiple areas and help out like the whole team as a whole, I feel like that is an important value like to your whole team.
For sure.
Yeah, doing multiple things. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, doing multiple things, like just running back and forth between a job. At first it's kind of like a learning curve because trying to get your photos done right in between during the intermission and running back to a merch table and setting it, like selling things, and then in between sets editing photos. It is stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know a few people that they tour manage as well as take photos. Which is I haven't toured.
We had
I haven't toured before, but I think it's definitely necessary to have multiple jobs.
Yasi was here a little bit ago. I forgot to shout her out, but she tour manages and takes photos for artists, and that's how she kind of got into it. So that's a great point.
That's a hard job, man.
Dude. I'm like struggling with photos sometimes. I'm like, you doing photo, video, and telling people where to eat and sleep? What's going on? Oh yeah, step my game up.
Photo and merch is enough.
Yeah.
I wish we had tour buses in Australia. I feel like it would.
When
you guys fly everywhere there, huh?
There's when I did that tour last year on the other camp, there's this girl Mallory. She was with the Ash. She did everything. She was photo, video, merch, TM, drove,
band. She was
did
the band.
Everything. Yeah, she's everything.
That's crazy. Respect to her.
How.
She's getting hired from here on out. She's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
She's like, what? Everything but be your artist.
Yeah.
Parker wants to know how you guys feel about if you're shooting in a photo pit and fans ask you to take a photo. Do you take it or do you not, and why? Like, what's your guys' vibe on that?
Most of the time when they do that, they're super drunk, and you're like, okay. And then they forget about it.
Can you take my photo?
Sure. And you have like a 7200 on, and they're
is
like,
is that a yes or a no? What do you got? What's your guys' vibe? Is there?
I mean, I do it, but then it's nobody ever like you do it, and then they never give you a way to like contact them or give it to them. So you just have it forever. Like it is mostly. I mean, because I've been asked, it's like really drunk people at the show, and then after they ask you, you will never hear from them again. Like I'll do it, but like the result coming from it usually is something.
I will tell you. What are you gonna say? Sorry, go.
Usually
Ruby, Christian, go.
Go Christian.
Ruby, you go.
Okay.
It's just like in the middle of a set, they're like, you're walking around the crowd, and they're like, hey, and they're touching, grabbing, take my photo, and it's all dark, and it's like, this isn't gonna look good, and I have no way of getting.
You got your 70 to 200 on.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, here, I'm 3 inches away from you. Okay, I'm acting like I'm taking the picture. It's just like they don't get it. They really don't.
I think people are just used to club photographers, and they just see somebody with the camera, and they're like, oh, this person's taking photos.
Yeah.
I honestly always try to take them, especially when I'm at like a show like 21 Pilots or somebody with like a really cult following, because generally their fans are younger, they're not drunk, and they waited the whole day to get the front row. And I'll tell you, if you get that photo of them, although they might not hit you up for it, if they go out of their way to hit you up for it, I always find it for them, and I always give it to them, because they are so happy, and I guarantee you their mom's printing it and putting it on their wall. You are like literally changing somebody's life, and all you have to do is go click.
Absolutely.
And I think that's cool. I don't know.
That part is cool.
Dude, I was at a 21 Pilot show, and the people in the front, they're like, yeah, I camped out for 2 weeks. I've been here since first of the month. And it's like, oh my God, yeah, fine. You can have this photo, 100%.
Take my camera.
You deserve it. You earned it.
I've had people who are like, I'm going to crowd surf at this park. Can you like try to get them? I was like,
yeah.
Usually they're like people I relatively know, or like we're homies. And so I always try to do that. Because it's cool. Like people want to see like those kind of photos of themselves at shows. Like that's a memory for them. But
usually if it's like before the show and I'm just like sitting in the pit, I've like started to get recognized by people in Barrier, which is crazy. They're like, oh my God, Ruby, can you like take my photo? And I'll be like, yeah, frick.
You're like, you know
who
my
I
name.
am."
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, yes. And I've like, yeah, made heaps of friends from doing that. But I
Dude,
remember,
front row fans are legit.
yeah, and it's always like in Sydney, it's literally always the same people at every show. I'm like, do you listen to every band in the world? This is crazy. But I think, yeah, at Youngblood, I like literally half the Barrier knew who I was, and I was like, this is ridiculous. But before that show, like you were saying with the cult following, I knew like he had one of those really young fan bases. So I went to the show real early and just like went down the line, and I like took photos of fans that were like had really cool costumes or like did their makeup really cool, and yeah, put them all in a Drive link or Dropbox link, and I like got everyone's Instagrams and told them, and so like they all just messaged me and I just sent them the link, and everyone kind of got their photos from that, and they were just so
That's
like
great.
they're like 13, and I was like, hey, do you guys want a photo? They're like, oh my God, yes, and they were so happy, and I was like, oh, I love that.
Yeah, because like we're all,
Awesome.
I think everybody at a concert is there for the same reasons we are. We all just love music. So
Yeah,
I don't know. I think it's best to never make somebody feel like bad when they're just the happiest they've ever been. So if you can do anything to make it better, that's great. I do put drunk people in a whole other category though. That's like,
I was gonna say it's like two different situations.
yeah,
yeah, for sure. If it's like a drunk person and it's just pitch black, I'm like, sorry, I don't have my flash.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is actually true. Right?
Yeah.
Thursday no flash, sorry, baby.
What'd you say?
But the whole idea of taking like a massive amount of photos of someone and putting it in a link, and then if someone hits you up, there's like the whole link for it. That's a cool idea.
Yeah. I vibe on what was it? I like shot something for a DVD specifically in London, and before the show I just went with like a monopod and took like a photo of every like section of the crowd, and then made a Dropbox and was like, here. I don't know you guys. So like similar, I'm just like, I don't know what else to do. It's like too much work otherwise. But yeah.
Great way to go about it.
Show, they all had like flags and shit. I was like,
Dude,
yeah,
it's sick.
It's so good.
How do you have a flag? I can't barely get like my own stuff into a show and you brought a flag.
Yeah, they like fold it up so it's like this big, and then suddenly it's like this big flag, and like, wow, I can't even sneak a point and shoot in here.
Yeah. Can't even get myself in.
Play.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, I know it went by pretty fast. We're at about an hour and a half, so I think we're gonna finish this up here. That being said, if you guys have thank you guys. This was
Thank you.
This was fun. This is awesome.
A lot of fun.
Hell yeah!
Oh, you guys are great.
Hey, yeah. Hey, likewise. Likewise. What was I gonna say? Yeah, Connor is gonna throw your guys' Instagrams or websites or whatever he's gathered, I think, into chat here, so people can check out your work. He's ready, and I know he has a little bit of a delay here, but they'll pop up. He's on his business usually. Anyway, hopefully we can do something again in the future. Maybe get you guys in some other kind of Twitch something. But if you guys ever need help with anything, all these people are good people in the community. They're helpful. They're not going to be mean to you, I promise. They'll make you tutorials if they're less than 4 steps in Photoshop. And yeah, it's good. Thank you guys for doing this. I learned a lot today. And
This is fun.
What'd you say?
This is fun. Thank you.
Hell yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you guys.
This is awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, check out their work. If you guys have any questions, let them know on Twitter, Instagram. You know where to find people. And yeah, say goodbye to the kitten.
Aw.